Hello and welcome to the Buy, Sell, Hold Spotlight presented by Sports Car Market Magazine. I'm Darin Roberge. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Also, be sure to join the conversation and share your thoughts by leaving us a comment below. Our guest today is Mark Hyman. He is with Hyman Ltd. Classic Cars in St. Louis. Welcome, Mark.
Well, thank you, Darin. How are you doing?
Great. For those who may not know you, why don't you introduce yourself and give a little bit of background?
My name is Mark Hyman. I'm the founder and president of Hyman Ltd. Classic Cars. We're based in St. Louis, Missouri. For the last 35 years, we have worked really, really hard to source and present some of the best cars we can find to people all over the world.
So how did Hyman Ltd. Originally start? What was kind of the initial focus and where is that different from where you are now?
I was in the real estate business when I was in my 20s, but my passion was always vintage cars. So every time I'd walk into a building, I'd look at a building and I'd say, I wonder how many cars I could fit in this building. And very seriously. So in the late 80s, real estate business got pretty rough, and I was brokering commercial properties and doing some development work. And I stumbled across a couple of cars and bought them and sold them and made a couple of dollars. I said, this is really, really fun. And the niche that I carved out is the cars that I really, really have a passion for, that I love. And I love unusual cars. And I love beautiful, beautiful cars. So the cars that I chased early on and still chase and try to deal with and buy and sell throughout the world are cars that are unique, that are rare, that are beautiful. We really, really love, pre-war French cars like Delahaye's and Bugattis. That's kind of what we spend our life doing, and chasing really things. So while we do deal in a lot of more commonplace cars, muscle cars and 50s Americana and even late model, supercars, my passion is the unusual.
You guys do have a large, diverse inventory of stuff that includes everything that you said, plus a lot more. Being located in St. Louis, it seems like kind of a random spot to be able to do kind of what it is that you do. How has that affected, what you're able to do with your business? And has it been an asset? Has it been made things more difficult? Explain kind of the location and how that's affected your ability to get inventory.
Well, we're based in St. Louis, Missouri, which is right smack dab in the middle of the United States. So in terms of our domestic business, it's an asset. Half of our business, depending upon the exchange rate, half our business is global. It does not matter where we're located. We deal in really unique, we deal in extraordinary quality. And the guy that wants to buy that car doesn't care if it's in St. Louis, Missouri, St. Louis Obispo, or in the middle of Europe. It just does not matter. So we fly cars all over the world. We ship them by container all over the world. We have our own truck to transport domestically. Again, what we deal in tends to be really high end and unique. The guy that wants to buy that car, that just doesn't matter where it's located.
Yeah, the world's a lot smaller place than people think sometimes, and it's pretty easy to reach out and touch somebody halfway across the world, especially if you have one of something that somebody absolutely has to have, which you tend to do a lot. So, I can see where that would be a thing, certainly.
Part of our business, a really, really big part of our business is, we separate sort of into customers and clients. Customer is a guy that buys a car. A client is a guy that's been buying cars from us for many, many years and lots of them. And so we have customers all over the world, but we also have clients all over. We've developed people, and built museums all over the world. So a guy will come to us and say, look, I want to buy 40 or 50 cars and I want to put together a museum in Russia. We've done that. I want to buy 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 cars. We want to do a museum in Switzerland. We've done that. We've done museums all over the United States. So the biggest part of our business, and it's crucially important part of our business, is not just selling cars, but creating clients and servicing those clients for many, many years. And this is my 35th year. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have those clients.
Yeah, and I'm sure a great place to acquire clients like that is at Concours, and you are a big Concours guy, and you go out and you win these things too. So, explain some of the recent wins that you've had, some of the cars that you've brought to prominent Concours around the world, and kind of explain that experience a little bit.
Well, it's a good time for this because in 2 weeks, we're going to Pebble Beach. I think this is my 25th or 26th or 27th, I don't know, year of showing at Pebble Beach. And we have bought and sold a fair number of cars that have actually won Best of Show at Pebble Beach. I've personally not won Best of Show. I've won my class multiple times. I've gotten second and third in class multiple times. But we've actually represented owners of people who have taken their car to Pebble Beach, won Best of Show, and then said, Mark, we want you to sell this car for us. So I'm very proud to say we've handled some Best of Show winners. I'm very proud to say we've sold and represented lots of cars that have won either their class or second in class. But the thing that I love about the Concours scene, I love the cars, obviously. And every year I have one car of my own in restoration to be presented in the Concours circuit and hopefully win. But the biggest part of that is, the cars are one thing. The people are what makes it. And to your point, our ability to interact with those people is crucial. And that's where I meet them.
Yeah. I mean, you get around too. I mean, like the last time I saw you, you were winning your class in Arizona. So, you definitely do the scene, you do it well, and you get around and you win for sure. So you mentioned some restoration work that you do. You obviously deal with some challenging cars. So what is the most difficult, most challenging restoration that you've been involved in to date?
Well, we have an in-house team, but we don't do full ground up nut and bolt restorations here. Our job in our shop, and we've got 8 guys in our shop now, our job is to prep cars for sale. So one of the big things we do for clients is if they send us a car to sell for them on consignment, we'll take the car, we run it through our shop, and we'll make recommendations to them on what we can do to add value. And so a huge part of what we offer the car culture and sellers is the ability to say, if you send me a car or a collection of cars that need some love, need to be upgraded, what we try to do is to look at what can we do to that car to add value. So when somebody calls here to buy a car, they know that we're selling quality, that we can tell them what they're buying, what it needs, what it doesn't need, what we've done. So our shop is not a restoration shop. We do all aspects of restoration, but that's not what we do. I call it a value-added shop. It's what can we do for $1,000? It adds $5,000. What can we do for $10,000? It adds $200,000. So when it comes to restoring cars for Concours, I send those out. I find the guys who are the best at that type of car, and that's their job, is to spend a year or 2 or 3 years and $500,000 to $1.5 million to restore one car.
Serious business, no doubt, but it's got to be taken that way for sure. Yeah. So you talk to any car guy, and there's always that one car out there someplace that they've always dreamed of owning but have never owned before. I'm not so sure that's your problem because you've had so many cars over the years, but is there one like nagging car out there someplace that's never been in your showroom before?
I've owned personally, we've sold roughly 8,000 cars through here. So we've been exposed to a lot of fabulous machines. And I've never owned an 8C Alpha. So that's one of the cars that I'd like to own. I've driven them. I've enjoyed them. I love them. I've never owned one. So I think that would probably be the car that I got to check that box.
Is there any car that you've ever really regretted selling?
A lot. I mean, I can't even give you that list because a tremendous number of cars have gone through here. And I don't realize how fabulous it is until a client comes in and says, hey, let's go take a test drive in that car. And we go drive it. And I go, oh my God, why would I want to sell this car? It's unbelievable. And obviously he buys it, but that's part of the fun. There was a time many years ago when I said, I really want to have a collection of 200 cars or so for myself. I don't feel that way. I have about 15 cars that I keep for myself. That's a job just to keep those up to date, up to snuff, dialed in, running. I don't want to own 200 cars for myself. For inventory, that's one thing. But is there a car that I really, really wish I'd kept? I've had a couple of Duesenbergs that I've sold. I've had a couple of Bugattis that I've sold. But actually, the more I think about it, the thing that I love more about this business than anything is the chase. It's what's out there that I haven't seen yet, what's out there that I haven't found yet, what's out there that can still be acquired. And that's actually as much fun as actually the car itself.
Yeah, the process is addicting for sure. And, I couldn't do what you do because I couldn't sell stuff like that so easily. But I imagine like anything else, that's a skill that you're going to acquire. So of all the cars you had, of all the cars you acquired, of all the 15 cars in your collection, whatever else, what is the best car you've ever owned?
That's like asking your wife or your girlfriend, what's the best dress in your closet? There's no answer to that. And people ask me all the time, they come in my showroom and they look around and they go, what's your favorite car? And I really mean it. My favorite car is a function of what I'm doing, where I'm going, and what my mood is. And if I'm going to do the Colorado Grand, that's a different car than if I'm going on a Duesenberg tour, a Bentley tour. If, I went to a Ferrari Club fair here in St. Louis a couple nights ago, I took a Ferrari. So my favorite car is a function of what I'm doing, where I'm going, and what I'm doing. If you ask me what my absolute favorite car is just across the board of anything that I have owned or currently own, I'd say it's my 1931 Bentley that I'm looking at over here. I've had it 20 years. I've driven it all over the world, and it's a beast. It's a lot of work, but it's truly my favorite car.
The memories that you create with that stuff are sometimes worth more than the car itself, certainly. So Let's talk current inventory. And right off the top, you're going to create memories for yourself and anybody who sees this thing, whenever you pull up or wherever you pull up at this 1936 Aaron's Fox BT fire truck. Originally a Mount Vernon Fire Department issued vehicle. You ready for this? 19-liter inline six. It's a two-seater because, two-seater and a 19-liter, giant fire truck is all you need, right? And it's in beautifully restored condition with all the bells, ladders, lamps, and all the goodies. Tell us about this thing. What's the asking price on it? What do you do with this thing?
All right. So I have to give you a little bit of background. I've been a fire truck nut since I was 16 years old, and I've always had a fire truck since I was 16 years old. And I bought my first one. I restored it. I fixed it up. I cleaned it up. They're just fun. The Aaron's Fox is the absolute top of the line, coolest fire truck on the planet. And they're amazing. It's just bigger than life, loud as can be, fast, powerful, shoots water 200 feet in the air. It's the coolest machine on the planet. I think the asking price is $239 or $249, somewhere in there. The chrome alone on this machine would cost you $75,000, and it's incredible. So we have always played with them, not really to make a ton of money. There's not a huge market, but we sell 2 or 3 amazing fire trucks a year to people for garage art. Somebody's got a museum and they say, we got to have it. Or somebody's got a car collection and said, we got to have that in the corner. And they're very reliable. They're very drivable. Today, especially, the cost of restoration is so extraordinary that you can buy these machines for a fraction of the cost of restoring. And they're just bigger than life. And if you like machinery and you like beauty, that Aaron's Fox is a deco design with a ginormous engine. And I promise you, if you come to St. Louis and I drive you down the street in that thing, you will have the biggest grin on your face. You won't believe it. It's cool.
It's astonishing. And I spend, a lot of time looking at catalogs, looking at websites and stuff like this. I saw this thing and I was like, A, good God, how difficult of a restoration would this thing be? And B, how worth it would it be? Because it is really, really, really amazing. No question.
So fun. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And something equally as wonderful and certainly highly unusual that you have in stock right now, 1949 Veritas Scorpion Cabriolet. This has got a BMW 328 engine, gearbox, rear axle, and brakes on it. Give a little bit of background on this company and kind of explain the very, very unusual loophole that they had to acquire engines, and also let us know what the asking price is.
Well, this is a unique car. First of all, it's a Spawn-bodied Veritas, which is an unusual car. As you said, it's got a BMW drivetrain. Veritas was actually known and well known for race cars post World War II. They did have an affiliation with BMW, and they also used Spawn for building some crazy bodies. In fact, about a year ago, I sold a Spawn-bodied Veritas with bat wings, and it was just like the craziest, coolest thing. It came out of an estate in Chicago many years ago. But this is a car that was fully restored. It's a street version. It's not a race car. Very unusual, beautifully restored. I think the asking price today is $850,000, which is less than it would cost to restore it. And it's the perfect car for somebody that wants something unusual, that's roadworthy. This is a great car for a guy that wants to do the Colorado Grand or the California Mille, the guy that doesn't want to spend, $2 or $3 million for a BMW 507, and it's a similar car. So it's the ticket to a lot of unique events as well as Concours events, but it's also something that the owner is going to be able to say, "Have you ever seen one of these?" And again, that's where I like to play.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I've never seen one, and it's an astonishingly beautiful car on top of everything else. The thing that really caught my attention on it was the loophole that in order to require engines, because post-World War II, part of the agreement in getting out of that was that German companies couldn't have anything over 1 liter, and obviously the 328 is a larger motor, so they were having to source these motors from pre-existing or older stock that were out from BMW, other places. So really interesting story, really beautiful car. This thing checks a ton of boxes, and you can certainly do a lot with it. There's no question. Another car that's kind of an interesting oddity that you have, but you see them around a little bit, and I'll explain kind of why this one I think is different. 1957 dual Ghia. This is the 5th of all the dual Ghias produced. It was built for a department store heiress, and of course, we know dual Ghias were very popular with celebrities of the era. Ronald Reagan, Sinatra, Debbie Reynolds, Lucille Ball. They all owned dual Ghias. This one's highly restored. The thing that really jumped out on me with this one is that most of the time you see these, they're black or they're darker colors. This one is bright Chrysler Vermont green. It's got a matching two-tone interior with a dark green top, and it's got chrome wire wheels on it. So it's very flashy compared to sort of the more muscular, understated sort of appearance that a lot of dual Ghias tend to have. So, I mean, we see these cars come to market once in a while. What do you think the premium is going to be on color for this? And plus, again, it's got a really interesting story on previous ownership. So, what are your thoughts here? What's the asking price on this car?
Well, let me say this to you. First of all, I go way back with dual Ghias. I think I bought my first dual Ghia over 30 years ago. I like dual Ghias because they really represent sort of the epitome of the American dream as far as the automobile industry goes. Gene Casserole was the guy that owned Dual Motors. And Dual Motors was actually a company that had a contract to transport cars for the auto manufacturers in Detroit. So Dual Motors was not a car manufacturer. They were car haulers, but Gene Casserole had this dream of building his own car. So he got together with Ghia, who built bodies, and then the bodies were built in Italy. The cars were put together in Michigan, hence dual Ghia. This car is a consignment. It's owned by a dear friend, and the restoration was done right. So your question to me about color, first of all, when dual Ghias were first built, they weren't all black, and they weren't dark colors. They were flamboyant. They were owned by the Rat Pack people. They were wild, crazy, nuts. They were out there. So a lot of the cars you see today get restored in dark colors because it tones them down. It makes them, more conservative, so to speak. I think this car is killer. I think that color brings a premium, and I think that's a bargain at $495,000.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous car for sure. And it's interesting the transporter sort of connection that you talked about, because these things got a lot of miles on them before they even got built. I mean, Chrysler would put together the chassis, ship it to Italy. They would do the coach work, return the car back to the United States. They'd put the V8 motors in them, and then they would kind of go where they went after that. So these cars were expensive to put together just from the logistics side of it alone. So the connection to a transporter certainly makes sense. Now, something else that you guys have, much more modern, that travels quite a bit pretty quickly. 2018 Ferrari 812 Superfast Coupe. You guys also sell late model exotics. This one has 3,183 miles on it. It's in the Rasa 70 anniversary color over tan interior with the Daytona seats, 211 mile an hour top speed. And this is the last naturally aspirated front engine V12 from Ferrari. So there's inherent collectability here. So these are expensive now. They do a lot of stuff now. What do you think this car, who do you think this car appeals to, first of all? And second of all, what are you asking? And third, where do you think it goes from here because of that designation of an end of an era?
Well, let me say this to you. I've been driving this car, not a lot, not putting a lot of miles on it, but I've been enjoying it because to me it offers, it's a good sized automobile that's very comfortable. Obviously it's incredibly fast, but I like the fact that it's a GT. You can drive, you can enjoy it, and you don't feel like you're squished into a little teeny car. I think that the fact that it's the last of its breed means it's going to always hold its value, if not go up in value significantly. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you. I guarantee it's going to go up in value. I don't know that. But as you know, and we have seen in the past, that the end of an era type cars have always done well, especially when they start with an F. I think this car is priced really, really aggressively in the upper threes. And I love it. In fact, I sold it once about a year ago and I took it back on trade. So since I sold it, it's gotten this new set of tires and a service. Very few miles have been added to it, but I drive it home once in a while. It's fun.
These are brilliant cars, definitely. And they do everything. Like they're very subdued at lower RPMs, but as soon as you touch them, they really go and they get nasty quick. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a good sort of dual purpose, dual usage car for somebody that wants that. Plus the investment angles are certainly there too. Another car that you have in inventory, and we've spoken very favorably on this show about these particular cars. This is a really, really, really good one. And something to think about too. These were like 60 grand like 5 years ago. So they have shot up considerably in the last couple of years, and there's reasons why. But this is a 1968 Lamborghini Espada Series 1. It's a very, very early Series 1 example with original UK delivery. It's the 54th of the first batch of 56 built, and that matters, certainly. Black over cream leather, it's fabulous. It's like driving a rhinoceros. I mean, these things are so cool. So what's your asking price on this one? Kind of talk about the differences between, the first 56 built and the ones after that. And again, what has created the increase so quick on the value of these cars?
Well, I'm glad you asked about this car. In fact, I sold it today. This is a car that I chased for 12, 14 years from a collector in Chicago. He and I have been friends for years. And I always, once a year I'd call him, I'd say, hey, do you want to sell that Lamborghini? And I loved it. The Series 1 car, the early cars are very low production. They're obviously rare. They've got unique features the other ones don't have. And I love these eyebrows on the very back of the car. So it was always a car that appealed to me. And I think I chased it 10 or 15 years. He finally called me a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, come up and get this car and another car, which we did. We did a little detail work to it. We did some mechanical work to it. And the car got sold today. We were asking $230,000. And we got a little bit less than that, but not far off. And yeah, that's a car that, this was not a restored car. This was just a really, really good, honest, beautiful, what I'll call a beautiful driver. And, but it's rare. It's unique. And hence, that's what people come to me for, rare and unique.
Yeah, it seems like the gauge design on those is a little bit more in demand, a little bit more desirable there. And I think the driver is kind of the way you want those cars because they are so interesting. They're so loud and raucous. And again, like I said, it's like driving a rhinoceros down the freeway. That's really kind of what they are. And it makes them really fun. So it's good to see those are finally getting the attention in the marketplace that they deserve because they were very, very unloved for a long time, certainly.
Well, in Europe, they've been appreciated for some time. The earlier cars, the later cars, not so much in Europe. The later cars, not so much here in the U.S. The Series 1 car has always had a place in Europe And recently, there's just very few of those Series 1 cars here in the States. So as soon as we posted that car, we had interest immediately.
Yeah, I'm sure people are excited about that. Another vehicle that you have too that I think is going to generate some excitement, and I've said on this show before, and I'll say it again, I believe this to be the greatest American road car ever produced. And you can argue with me on that if you would like. This is a 1965 Shelby, one of just 562 1965 models built. This is an original numbers matching K code 289, a Concours restoration by the folks at Cobra Automotive, which they know Shelby's better than anybody. You always want to look for them. They are the best of the best. It's got all the factory little misses on it, like the oversprays from the stripes and the masking lines and stuff like that. We'll talk about that a little bit too. And the Shelby Krager wheels wrapped with period correct Goodyear blue dot tires, also important. It seems like Shelby guys really, really like to have that stuff on those vehicles. Those blue dot tires definitely bring a premium. And the mistakes that they made when they produced those cars from the factory are really desirable too. So why do people like cars that are like that? Number one. And number two, what's the asking price of this car? Where do you think these go in the future? And am I correct? Is this the greatest American road car ever produced?
Darin, I got to agree with you. And let me say this. I can't tell you that I know every single, idiosyncrasy of these cars because I am not, a Shelby expert. I love them. I drive them. I enjoy them. We bought and sold a lot of them. I'm not the expert, but I can tell you that a couple of days ago, we were doing some drives and we were doing some social media work. And I took this car out and I drove it. And I drove it long and hard and fast, and I had an absolute ball. So why is it one of the favorite cars on the planet? Because it checks a lot of boxes. First of all, there's a lot of muscle cars that, while they're cool and they're powerful, they're not great cars. They don't drive great. This car is a great car. It does drive well. It does all the things that you want a muscle car to do, and it does them well. It also has a pedigree. So it's not just your basic fast car with big tires and a big engine. This is a car with a pedigree where people research it. They know what's right. They know what's wrong. So it's a car that does what it's supposed to do. And this is a great one. This particular car is well sorted. It's properly restored. I mean, it's just a great automobile. And hence the reason, why is there a following?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And the Shelby guys are really, really, really like detail oriented when it comes to these cars for sure. So, and this one to definitely check all the boxes. So what's the asking price on this? What's the general range for these? This is obviously a really, really good one.
This car's in the $500,000 range. Yeah. I'd have to look at the website to exactly what the price is, but it's roughly $500,000.
I mean, that's where these kind of rest. And when you think about what's sort of comparable, these are still really a pretty good value, all things considered. I mean, they have sort of the handling of a European sport car with all the craziness of American muscle cars of the era. So these things certainly do a lot. And again, this is a good example that would be a great addition to anybody's collection.
Well, what we've experienced is when the market fluctuates substantially, the markets do fluctuate, but really, really good cars with a great pedigree fluctuate far less than a lesser. So these cars hold their value quite well.
Okay, Mark, you are one of the most established and most prominent dealers of collector cars in the country, and you've been doing this a long time, so nobody knows more than you. Give us one car to buy, one car to sell, and one car to hold in today's marketplace.
I'm going to give you the answer I give everybody, and the same answer I've given everybody for 35 years. Buy what you like, hold what you like, and sell what you're tired of using. And I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but that's the answer I've been living by for 35 years and always will.
Pretty safe answer, no question. Is there anything in particular that sort of caught your eye lately that fits into any of those categories?
I think that's different for everybody. And for me, there are certain cars in every category that I love. I have a good friend that has a Pagani and, I kind of like to have one of those in the supercar world. I've always played with pre-war cars and there's, as I said, I really like to have an 8C Alpha. Every day I look in a certain category and I go, man, I've never had one of those and I should buy one, and I will. So I can't give you a definitive answer for each category. And as you know, our scope is wide and our net is wide. So I don't just deal in Shelby's. I don't just deal in Ferraris. I don't just deal in Duesenbergs. We have a wide scope, and I'm looking at every category, and I buy what I like. I deal with what I like, and I sell the same cells that I like. I sell the cars that I do like. So I don't look at it from an investment standpoint. I don't tell people to buy cars for investment. I don't believe in it. I believe you should buy what you like, enjoy what you like. And if you don't like it anymore or your needs change, then you sell it.
So let's zero in on your list a little bit. Are we talking Zonda? Are we talking Haraya? And then, for an Alpha of the caliber that you're talking, what's the cost of something like that right now?
Well, an HC Alpha, a good one, is $20 to $30 million. Probably the best is maybe even a little more. They're hard to buy. There's not a lot of them in the market. The Haraya is a great car. I have a couple of friends that have them, so I've driven them and have enjoyed them. And yeah, I'd like to have one, and I will.
They're pretty astonishing from a design standpoint. That interior is, you sit in that interior and you're kind of not the same ever again after that. It sort of skews your expectations for what a car interior could and should be. It's a pretty astonishing place to sit down in.
They're gorgeous, and not only is the design incredible, but to drive one, it's over the top exhilarating. So they're as cool to drive as they are to look at.
Absolutely, without a doubt. So any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts? I think that, it's 2023. The market's still rocking. People are still getting excited about the car market. And I have to say that I've been very fortunate to have spent 35 years doing what I love. And, another 35 years, we'll still be doing it.
So where can people go to learn more?
Our website is www.hymanltd.com. And as I said, we buy cars, we sell cars, we take cars on consignment from all over the world. So anybody, any of your listeners, have questions, feel free to reach out and give us a call.
Yep, certainly an expert indeed. Nobody sold more cars than you, and it's a good resource to have out there, definitely. I would like to thank Mark Hyman for joining us today. To learn more about anything that we discussed here, be sure to pick up the latest issue of Sports Car Market Magazine by visiting the link in the video description down below. As a reminder, if you enjoyed this content, please take a moment to like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay on top of future episodes. I'm Darin Roberge, and thank you for joining us on the Buy, Sell, Hold Spotlight.